This conference will now be recorded.
Hello friends, welcome to this quick session on spinning up a Windows server in the cloud on AWS and configuring IIS on Windows instance. So let's quickly get started with, I'll share my screen. So first things first, we need to start a Windows instance. So it's quite similar to starting a Linux instance, but there is a slight difference when compared with Linux to Windows. If you want to get connected to a remote server in the cloud to a Windows server, we have to go with RDP, which is a remote desktop protocol. But in the case of Linux, we go with a protocol which is SSH, Secure Shell Protocol. Let me show you the example of setting up Windows, creating an EC2 instance which is of Windows server. So I'll click on Launch Instance. Go here, search for Windows. I'll go select Microsoft Windows Server 2019 base, which is a free tier eligible instance. AMI. Okay, let's select this one. T2.micro is fine. Configure instance details, add storage. I'm leaving the defaults. After that, yeah, the default size assigned is 30 GB. Okay, fine with that. And delete on termination. Yes, even the volume gets deleted if this is checked. Yeah, I'm fine with the defaults. I'm not changing anything. Let's click on next, add tags. I'll add a tag here saying name Windows Windows Server 2019. Some name I'm giving to my server, Windows Server 2019, and then next configure security group. And you can observe here the default port which is open is 3389, and the rule, you can see the protocol which is here RDP, remote desktop protocol. It's not SSH. Okay, to access Windows servers remotely, we need to go with a remote desktop protocol, and port is 3389 through which the machine communicates. Let's click on review and launch, and finally click on launch. Now we will be asked for a key pair. What I'll do is I'll go with creating a new key pair and name that as Windows and IIS, something like that. Windows IIS, and then I click on download key pair. These are all the steps whatever we did so far. All three are quite similar to spinning up excuse me, spinning up a Linux server in the cloud, right? So let's click on launch instances. Launch instances, and in a minute or two we see this Windows server getting into running status. Friends, one more thing to remember here: when you create a Windows server and you want to connect to this Windows server, at least give some time to this Windows server to configure. Okay, meaning let it get into running status and wait till the status checks are done. Okay, if not, what happens is initially if you try if you try to connect immediately after the server gets into running status, you might encounter some issues. Let me show you the example. Windows server, I'll click on connect, and if I click RDP client here, and if I want to click on generate password, what happens? Password is not available. Please wait at least 4 minutes after launching an instance before trying to retrieve the auto-generated password. See, now you're getting the point, right? At least wait for 4 minutes after launching the instance. So let's give this server some ample amount of time. Meanwhile, through which server do we get connected? Through which application do we get connected? Means within your Windows, go search for this remote desktop connection. There is an application with the name remote desktop connection. Open this application. In the case of Linux, we go with SSH client programs like Git Bash, MOBA Xterm, or SSH client program like PuTTY. But in this case, since the destination or the remote server which we want to access is a Windows server, we need to go with remote desktop connection, RDP protocol. So this is the application, and now I have to add the public IP address of my Windows server. This is the public IP address of this EC2 instance. Let me copy that, go back here, and within this application, let me paste the public IP address. Now let's click connect. Once we click connect, what happens is, the application is asking us for a username and a password. So what is the username and what is the password? We are, we don't know. So what I'll do, I'll go click on connect here, and now on RDP client. And then if you observe here, excuse me friends, for now I'm copying this Windows PEM file onto my desktop for quick navigation. And now if we observe, when I click on RDP client, the username through which we need to connect is administrator. So let me copy the username and paste it over here within the application, RDP application. Next, password. Password, click on get password thing. When you click on this get password thing, you will be asked to browse for this Windows IIS.pem file. Okay, so that we need to decrypt this PEM file and then generate a password. So I'll go click on browse, and on my desktop there's a file named Windows IIS.pem. I'll select this file, click open, and I'll say decrypt password. And friends, this is the password, whatever string of characters you're finding here, this is the password. Click on this icon to copy this password, and now go back to the application and paste the password and click OK. Don't ask me for connections and click yes, and that is it. Within few minutes you will gain access to your Windows server. Let's wait for a couple of minutes to get everything ready. So the server is getting ready for the first time. Yeah. Now whatever you're witnessing, this is your Windows server which is running in the cloud, and you remotely access it through remote desktop connection application. Okay, and now one task is done, which is creating an EC2 instance, a Windows-based EC2 instance in the cloud, and we got connected to it successfully. Now the second task is to configure IIS on this Windows server. So what to do, how to configure, your Windows, your server, IIS server. Let's try to understand. So let's get into command prompt first. Let's click on command prompt. Let me open this command prompt. And once I open command prompt, I'll go with the command which is ipconfig to get the IP address of this server. Yeah, next. Just make a copy of your private IP address, which is 172.31.15.94. 172.31.15.94. Let's quickly make a copy of it. Okay, fine. Next, once we are done with copying the IP address, now go back to server manager. Click on here and select server manager. Open this application, and once I open this application, I go with add roles and features. Add roles and features. Once I click on this add roles and features thing, next I need to do some configurations. Yes, click OK. I need to do some configurations. So it's still taking time. The process is happening. We did click on this, add roles and features, but what happened? Why is it taking time? Let me click again. Yeah, fine, friends. I think I did not click it properly. Yeah, now add roles and features and then click next. After clicking next, we need to select a role based or feature based installation. Yeah, that is checked by default. Click next, and then we need to go with select the server from the server pool. Yeah, this option is checked, and now we need to click on next. Just confirm whether the server IP address is the same, 172.31.15.94, and this is what we got from this IP config address, sorry, command, right? 172.31.15.94. Yes, both are same. Upon confirmation, let's click next. Okay, once you click next, you need to select your Windows server over here, which is web server IIS. Okay, web server IIS. Click next. Click on add features and click next. Okay, friends, and then select features. .NET framework is selected by default. Just click, keep going, clicking next, 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 and yeah, that is it. Click next again, and leave the defaults as is. We are not going to check. We are not going to change anything. Just click next, and finally install. So once we click install, this server gets installed, which is your web server IIS. Once it is installed, what to do? Take the private IP address of the server and try to view your application, whether the application is accessible or not. The installation is still happening. Let's wait for a while. Yes, installation is still happening, friends. If you are facing any issues, try let me know so that I'll help you out in configuring this, in setting up your Windows instance as well as configuring your IIS installation process. Okay, I hope if you follow the same, you won't get any issues. But just in case if you are facing any trouble, just let me know. Okay, let's figure out the problem. So friends, the installation is over. Let's keep on close. And now let me close this server manager dashboard. Something is blocking my view. Yeah, things on here. Yeah, okay, fine, fine. Now let me open my browser, Internet Explorer. I'm opening the browser within my EC2 instance in the cloud. Now, if we go with the private IP 172.31.15.94, 172.31.15.94, see, we are able to access the default page of your IIS. Within this server, yes, we are able to access the default page. But what if I want to access this, this page or this application from an external world? From my host operating system, if I want to access, let me go get connected to, let me go with my host operating system. Let's go back to our host operating system and try to gain access, and try to connect to the server, to the internet information services, your web server. Let's see how to get connected to our server in the cloud. So what I'll do, I'll go back to my host operating system. Oops. Some shortcuts are not working, friends. Just give me a second. Oops. I'm still within my virtual machine. Oops. Still in the virtual machine. Okay. Some application is blocking my view, friends. Just give me a second. Yeah, I came back onto my host machine, and if I want to access the default page of my IAS, now what I'll do, I'll get the private IP address of this server, and if I try to connect, things won't happen because we know we are trying to access this application from external world. So if I go with private IP, that doesn't work for me. But what if I take the public IP and I try to reach out to the default page of our IIS? Even that is not working because of the rule security group. Within the security group, there is only one port open, which is 3389, and the default port for your web server is going to be 80. So let's add that rule, edit inbound rules, and add a rule which is the default HTTP, which is port 80. Save the rule. CIDR block, let's specify everything and save rules. Now, if I go back, get the public IP address of this Windows server, and Windows server, let's get the public IP address and details. Get the public IP address. Open within your Chrome browser, public IP colon 80, and now we get the default application, default page of your IIS server. So this is how, friends, we can configure, we can create an easy to instance of Windows based operating system and install Windows web server. Okay, so I hope you got the point, and if you are confused or stuck anywhere, just let me know so that I'll help you out in getting the process correct. Yeah, thank you, friends. Thank you for your time, and I'll meet you in the next tutorial.